Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Rarely Typical, where I will be talking about living with a chronic illness, finding hope, and advocating for change. I am your host, Gerry Langan, and today I want to dive into a topic that is not only close to my heart, but also to so many in the chronic illness community. I want to talk about the heartbreaking reality of the American healthcare system. The truth is, living with a chronic illness is hard enough without having to add the stress of navigating a healthcare system that feels not only broken, but fighting against us at every turn. And while I have been incredibly fortunate to find a medical team that listens to me and treats me with dignity and helps me thrive, I know that my story is not always the norm. And trust me when I say it has not always been rainbows and butterflies. If you've been following me for a long time, you know that I've had some pretty terrible and negligent care that has almost cost me my life on multiple occasions. Looking at you, Alabama. But when I was first diagnosed, I went through a whirlwind of misdiagnoses, dismissive doctors, and insurance nightmares. It felt like I was playing a game where the rules were changing, but nobody was telling me that the rules were changing. And every time I thought I was getting somewhere, I would hit a wall. I know that I'm not alone. I know because I hear all the time from people who are fighting to be seen and heard by their healthcare providers, people who are supposed to be on our side. But believe me when I say I pray for you and I pray that you find it, because everybody deserves to be seen as a person and not just a name on a chart. I remember sitting in waiting rooms for hours only to be rushed through a 10-minute appointment where I was handed a new prescription and shown the door. There was no real conversation. There was no plan. It was just a revolving door of confusion and frustration. And let me tell you, when you are managing a rare, life-threatening illness like pulmonary arterial hypertension and throw in congestive heart failure, not having a clear treatment plan is terrifying. I also remember the asinine doctors who would forget my name, ask me what my central line or pump was for, and told me that my infected line was normal, all while calling themselves specialists. I had a doctor that removed the stitches after my central line was placed 2 weeks in, and she called me and told me that she made a mistake and that I shouldn't bend over for like 6 weeks. And I had twin babies at home. She didn't even have the decency to tell me herself or to apologize. And I vividly remember fighting with a doctor who told me that if I needed a second opinion, that I should just find a new clinic because I clearly didn't trust them. I mean, come on, y'all. That is crazy. You should always be allowed to ask for a second opinion. You should not be with a doctor whose ego is affected by that. I have had my share of medical trauma. So if you find this 7-minute hate video of me floating around the internet, just know that when she says my above average healthcare story is not the baseline, it makes me laugh because, I mean, that's the point. Because yes, I am aware that I am an exception in most cases, but I shouldn't be. The point of me sharing my story is because the type of healthcare I receive should be everybody's baseline. I want to give you a little hope, and I want to show you that this is what the healthcare system can look like when it works, and that when medical providers give a crap about their patients, they can be a team and they can work together. So what changed from those terrible doctors to me trusting the ones that I have now? Well, number one, I went to a center of excellence for PAH, those of whom are actual specialists whose hospitals have gone through a rigorous process to be considered a center of excellence, and those who not only know the disease, but are working actively in the disease space and are compassionate and thorough. They order the right tests, they explain things clearly, they have worked with me and not just told me what to do. They helped me actively create a plan together where it made sense for me. And because each person is different, it's important to have your own plan. That is the difference between good care and terrible care. And it has been day and night for me. My doctors and I are a team, a real one. Besties, if you will. They know me as a person and who they are invested in. And that makes all the difference, I think. My excellent care shouldn't be a rare experience. It should be the standard. So yes, to the girl who says I shouldn't be the baseline, I think you've entirely missed the point. It should be the baseline to be treated properly and respectfully. It should be the freaking standard for everyone to receive more than just mediocre care. You should be able to trust your doctors and you should be able to work with them. But that is the heartbreak of the American healthcare system. Patients should not have to fight to be heard. They should not have to fight and convince doctors to look deeper or beg insurance companies to approve life-saving treatments. It is exhausting, and it, for the most part, becomes a full-time job for everybody that's dealing with chronic illness. Here is a statistic that might blow your mind. According to the Commonwealth Fund, the U.S. spends nearly twice as much on healthcare as other high-income countries, and yet has some of the worst healthcare outcomes. We are talking about a system where 66% of bankruptcies are tied to medical bills, and nearly 1 in 4 Americans skip treatment because of the cost. How is that okay? Did you know that PAH meds are some of the most expensive medications on the market? The system is so broken, and I know patients who debate on paying for their medications and medical bills versus putting groceries on the table and gas in their cars. And that is not how it should be. The heartbreak of the American healthcare system is real. The gaps are wide and the stakes are high. But that is why advocacy is so important. And that's why I'm sharing my story. It's why I speak up. Because if we can change even one part of this system, if we can make it just a little easier for somebody else, then all of the frustration and all of the heartbreak might lead to something good. And that is why I believe that my story should be the standard. If you are struggling with healthcare, just know that you're not alone. I've been there. But keep advocating for yourself. Keep pushing for answers. Keep looking for a diagnosis. Keep seeking a second opinion and doctors who will care about you. Trust that God is working in the details of your story. And remember that there are communities and resources out there that are ready to support you. If you're looking to advocate, if you're looking to share your story, organizations like NORD, NIH, Chronic Disease Coalition, and PHA have advocacy efforts that would love to hear your story and tell you how you could submit those stories to people who are making laws that affect all of us. And I will link those in the show notes. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for listening to me on this podcast. If this episode resonated with you, please share, subscribe, and comment. Together, I believe that we can be the change that the world needs to see.